The first step in your ChiroHD system setup is to create system-level user accounts for everyone who needs immediate login access to assist in setting up your clinic. Users at the system level can have access to multiple clinics, so they can see any clinic that you have set up here, and can optionally be granted permissions to modify system settings. Every user should have their own personal login with their own personal email address. No user can have the same email address as another, and we do not recommend users sharing login access through one account. Here are your step-by-step instructions to grant user access to your team. First, you're going to navigate to System Settings here. Click Users, and then Create New User. First, you'll need to decide which provider type the user should be. Administrative-only users will only have access to the calendar in each location to which they have access. They will not have access to the SOAP note screen. Any other provider type will have access to the calendar as well as the SOAP note screen within each location they have access to. Some clinics will grant their chiropractic assistants a medical assistant provider type in order to allow them to transcribe notes for the doctor. So if your CAs need access to the SOAP note screen, or any user who is not a provider needs access to the SOAP note screen but is not actually a provider, you can grant them medical assistant access, and this will allow them to access the SOAP note screen. If this user will require a calendar, we will cover how to set that up within the location at a later time. For now, we're only creating users for those who need system-level access. Next, you'll type in the user's first and last name, their title, their nickname if they have one, and then you'll put in the email address and phone number. They will use this email address to log in. Now, please triple check that the email address is spelled correctly before saving in order to avoid any delays in getting their login access. So we're just going to put in test@test.com for right now. I recommend putting in their personal cell phone number just to make it easier to get in touch with them. The next step is to determine what permission level the user should have. So that's right here. System admins will have access to the System Settings tab, which will grant them access to make any changes therein. So system admins are basically, they have all permissions in every area of the system. Location admins created at the system level can see the system dashboard, but they cannot see the system settings button. They can, however, see the settings button within the location and make any changes therein. Location users created at the system level can see the system dashboard, but they cannot see the system settings button, and they cannot see the location settings button within the locations to which they have access. A location user set up as a provider will still have access to the SOAP note screen, but they will not be able to make any changes to settings. Call agents will only have access to schedule and reporting only. These are actually new user types that we have not technically released yet, so we will update this video once those have been completely released. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to create a system admin because most of the people you're setting up today are going to be system admins. You're now going to give them permissions. Please note that only a user with a specific permission can grant that permission to other users in their network. So if you don't have insurance permissions, you cannot grant insurance permissions to another user. If you have not signed up for the patient app, you won't have patient app permissions and you won't be able to give patient app permissions to your team. Now, first of all, let's talk about the mobile app permission. This permission will expose the mobile app configuration button within the location and allow the user to make changes to the mobile app setup. It will also expose the button within each patient profile that will allow the user to send the patient an invitation to use the app. If a user doesn't see the Send Patient App invite button on a patient profile, chances are they have not been granted the mobile app permission, and their system admin will need to get that added for them. And just for clarity, the Patient App is a patient mobile scheduling app that they can download onto their cell phone to schedule appointments, reschedule appointments, and see their x-rays. We are adding lots and lots of features to the app right now, and it's highly, highly recommended. So if you are not currently using the app, definitely recommend that you take a look at that. Next are the edit schedule permissions. This will expose the gear icon on the location calendars and allow the user to make changes therein. So if I navigate over to the calendar, and I'm going to actually switch views here, that permission will expose this little gear icon over here that will allow you to make changes to the calendar settings. The text reminder permission will expose the text reminder button on the calendar and will allow the user to make changes to the text reminder templates in the location. So for example, this text reminder button right here, which will allow you to send a manual text reminder to patients. It will also allow you, if I come here to Office configuration and scheduled reminders, it will allow the user to access reminder templates and edit them. Now, the last is insurance permissions. This permission exposes the insurance button within the system dashboard as well as the location. It also exposes the insurance history tab and bill history tab on the patient profile transaction history screen. If you navigate here, you can see the insurance button. This will not be visible unless you have insurance permissions. And if I click on a patient in their transaction history, if they have an insurance case, they will have an extra tab here, bill history and insurance history. And those two buttons will be exposed here only to users who have insurance permissions. Next, you'll need to decide which locations the user should have access to. So first of all, if you want the user to have access to all locations in your network, you will select all locations. If you are a multiple location network and you have several different locations, only users who should have access to all locations should have this selected. If they have access to 2 or more locations, you'll choose specific locations and then select from the list. Now, if they only have access to one location, you can select the location here. So I'm going to select the Chiro HD location. This will mean that this person, once they activate their login, when they log in, they will only see the Chiro HD location. They will not see the training location or any additional locations. All right. Now, just quick tip, if the specific locations is selected and only one location is selected here, sometimes we have issues with logins. So just be sure that if it's only one location that you select the one location like this.